Hey everybody, this is Dr. Jay Greenstein here, coming to you live from Washington, D.C., and I'm with a very, very special guest, Lindsay Alcock. Lindsay, how are you?
Hi, I'm doing great, Jay. Good to
It's,
talk to
it's,
you.
it's great for you to be here. Thanks so much for joining us today. Lindsay is an Olympian and a doctor of chiropractic, and today we're going to talk about her journey because it's quite a fascinating one. So Lindsay, tell us a little bit about how you became an Olympian.
So I started competing in skeleton back in 1998, and right around 1999, the International Olympic Committee brought skeleton onto the program for the '02 Olympics in Salt Lake. So I got into the sport at the right time and was able to build in those 3 years to try to make a run for those Olympics. And so was able to get the qualifiers in one season and qualified for Salt Lake for the '02 season. So yeah, it was an incredible kind of Cinderella story to get to those games, and then went on to compete in '06 for Canada as well.
That's fantastic. Now, some people may not know what skeleton is. Maybe you could just tell folks what that event is.
So it's a sliding sport on ice. We go head first on a steel sled. Basically, it looks like a cafeteria tray. We steer the sled just with our body weight shifting, and we can reach speeds over 80, 90 miles an hour.
Wow, that's incredible. It takes a lot of bravery to do that sport.
Well, to this day, like it's been many years since I've taken a run down the track. It still blows my mind that I actually did it for so.
That's great. So tell us about your introduction to chiropractic. Were you injured or were you using chiropractic for performance? Or how did you get introduced to chiropractic, either as an athlete or at the games or either?
So we had Dr. Greg Uchez travel with us on the World Cup tour. So he's has tremendous amount of years of experience working with Olympic athletes. So I was quite inspired watching him work, and he would put us back together again after crashes, and I just felt like, you have the best job in the world. How do I do what you do?
That's great. So you were already thinking about going to chiropractic school and becoming a doctor of chiropractic while you were an Olympian.
Well, I had my kinesiology degree before I started traveling on the tour. So I knew I wanted to do something that was in the healthcare profession, and just didn't know exactly whether it was going to be physical therapy, chiropractic, or something else. So I was certainly doing my research at that point, and I was able to just be a sponge and watch him work.
That's fantastic. So I know Greg. Greg is a great guy. If he's watching this video now, his head might get even bigger, but that's okay. Big shout out to Dr. Uchaz because he's an awesome doctor and an awesome human being. Um,
Absolutely.
so were you actually injured and Greg took care of a particular injury, or were you using it more for performance?
Yes, well, one story that really stands out for me and Greg is, we talk about this, several times whenever we meet up. It was the World Championships in Nagano, Japan for skeleton. It was 2003, I believe, and I had torn a quadriceps muscle,
Wow.
and that was just through repetitive stress over the course of the tour. And by the time I got to Japan, I was on crutches. Things weren't good, and then we had, I want to say, 10 days to prepare for the Worlds. And he worked on me twice a day, every day, got me back to where I needed to be, where I could at least push off the block and try to compete. And it was through active release of some of his techniques, and then the adjustments. We were able to, obviously we had a small window for soft tissue injury like that, but he got me there, and we were, at the end of the day, I was seventh. So
Wow.
impressive.
That is really impressive. That's awesome. So did you use chiropractic care for performance as well, or maintenance care, or was it mainly just for injuries? How did you utilize chiropractic the
No,
best way possible?
it was for just optimum health. So it was, we were definitely very much into a maintenance treatment with him. But whenever I would get the odd tweak, he'd be there to make sure it didn't grow into something bigger. So yeah, and I had been using chiropractic since I was a teenager, so I was well aware of its impact.
That's fantastic. What brought you to chiropractic as a teenager?
Low back pain. I was a I was a basketball player and just had chronic back pain, and it was the chiropractor at the time. He took X-rays and saw that I had spondy at L5 and a little bit of antrolisthesis, and so that explained the instability I was feeling. And so
Sure.
from there, I was certain that chiropractic would have to be a part of my life always if I wanted to be out of pain.
So what would you tell any athlete at any level, elite or otherwise, about the importance of chiropractic care?
Well, I would say that it's just vital. It's vital for a healthy nervous system. It's vital for preventing injuries. I had very few injuries at competing at such a high level, so I do credit chiropractic for that, and keeping a healthy immune system as well. So yeah, if you're looking for an extra edge, if you're looking to get things firing properly and having symmetry, especially in a sport where we're sprinting and we need that symmetry, chiropractic is an absolute essential treatment modality to have in your plan.
That's fantastic. You know, in the States, we're dealing with a completely over-medicated society. The FDA came out a year ago and talked about the adverse events of NSAIDs. We know about what's happening with the opioid crisis. An average of 52 people a day are dying in this country because of opioid overdose. Things need to change. Low back pain and neck pain have been the leading cause of disability worldwide from 1990 to 2015. Only depression took over in 2016. I can't understand for the life of me why we don't have more people utilizing chiropractic care. And it's just great to hear a message from an Olympian, someone who's an elite athlete, who's, you know, whose health is really important to their livelihood, at least at that stage in your life, that you utilize chiropractic care and you got tremendous benefit out of it. So it's just a great story. So again, thank you for being here, Lindsay.
Oh,
when it came to, you know, post-Olympic career, let's walk down that path of, you had seen Greg work, you loved what he was doing, you obviously felt the benefits of chiropractic. Tell us what happened next.
Well, I knew that I was winding down in my career with skeleton. I really wanted to compete in the Vancouver Whistler Olympics in 2010, but it became apparent that I wasn't going to be going. So, you know, ranked top 5 in Canada wasn't going to be enough to crack the Canadian team. So I decided to start the process of retirement. So I finished up on a lower circuit on the tour, the Intercontinental Tour. Had my last race and was laughing through the last curve, going, I can't believe I did this for 10 years. And started to, so I sold all my gear, started to pivot to chiropractic. I got in touch with Dr. Tom Hyde, and he was, you know, I think between Tom and Greg, they were able to point me in the right direction. I really did feel like chiropractic was the right choice. And so once they put me in touch with Palmer West campus, that was my top choice. And Dr. Meeker, the president there, we were able to figure out a way to make this happen. And so Tom and Greg told me about this Olympian program, the scholarship program for chiropractic, and I was sold. And so within a year of retiring, I had started my first class at Palmer West.
That's fantastic. So just so the audience knows, the Federation of International Chiropractic Sport, and specifically Dr. Tom Hyde, who's my personal mentor, put together this program that allows Olympians to go to chiropractic school on a full scholarship, a full academic scholarship. And it was just an amazing concept that Tom came up with. And of course, other sports chiropractors around the world helping to execute that plan by introducing folks like you to the program makes all the difference in the world. So tell us what your chiropractic school experience was like, and how being an Olympian prepared you for that.
Well, we work in 4-year cycles, and so it was actually quite perfect. I knew that moving to San Jose, I would be completely immersed in my education, and that most of my colleagues, you know, we would just be living and breathing chiropractic, and that's how it is as an Olympian. You're living and breathing the training. You get up in the morning, you go to the gym, you eat. I mean, it's very
regimented. Yeah.
And that's how you get through a day of chiropractic school. It's like drinking from a fire hose, and there's a lot of information coming at you, and you have to find ways to balance it so that you're not burning out. And so I was able to take a lot of those lessons from training and basically put it into you know, essentially treating chiropractic like boot camp, where you're just in it. And yeah. And that was a very successful recipe.
I interviewed your good friend Melissa Orr the other day, and she used the word grueling to describe chiropractic school, and I totally related to that, because that's exactly the word that I described. You know, going through chiropractic school, I got a tremendous education, as I'm sure you did, but it's it's tough. It's really hard. It's rigorous. And like in life, you get out what you put in. And so when you put in all your effort, it really is worthwhile at the end of the day.
Yes, absolutely. It was
I remember,
yeah, it was a great program.
I remember I was about a week away from graduation. I was just in the parking lot getting ready to go into student clinic or the clinic. And I just remember saying to myself, don't get hit by a bus. Don't get hit by a bus. Like just be able to walk across the stage. So I was happy that I was able to do that. Um, so tell me what it's been like after chiropractic school. How did you find your next career move, and what's that been like?
hmm So, I've been to a few different clinics since graduation. I started out downtown Calgary, Canada, and then moved out to the Olympic Park where I did all of my training for 10 years. So, Winsport is where they have the bobsleigh, skeleton, and luge track, as well as other facilities for ski jumping, for example, or they have freestyle skiing there. And it's just a real hub for grassroots development and high performance athletes especially for winter sport. And so I started working at the clinic there that had opened,
That's
the
great.
medicine clinic. So that was my first foray into working with other disciplines. It was a very multidisciplinary clinic. So I was fortunate to work with sport physicians, physiotherapists, massage therapists.
Great.
So that was a 2-year stint there, and now I'm working in the suburbs. I'm in a clinic with another chiropractor who's been there now for 20 years in the same place, and we
Wow.
work predominantly with adults 35 to 60 with mechanical low back pain. And I work with a lot of families and young kids who are just starting out in sport, and they're on the high performance stream. They've been assigned to, they obviously have potential. So I'm teaching them about chiropractic at a young age and how it's an important stepping stone for, again, preventing injuries and making sure that they stay healthy.
Lindsay, that's fantastic. I just have to imagine the impact you're having, especially with the young athletes, being able to make sure they're trained the right way, the psychological components of being an elite athlete, and just making sure they stay healthy with chiropractic. So the impact that you're having on these young athletes, especially, has got to be tremendous.
Yeah, it's very rewarding. And with kids, they don't necessarily come in with any bias or any judgment, and they're fascinated by what we can do just with our hands and how good they feel when they get off the table. So they're already like, you don't have to, yeah, it's not complicated with kids, and they bounce back so quickly too that
Yeah,
even just a couple of treatments and they're off to the races.
it's fantastic. What would you tell the population at large around the world about the benefit of chiropractic?
Well, I would say again, just to get to your point about the opioid crisis that's happening, we are offering a service that is a drug-free way to relieve pain. And so many people are living in chronic pain and they don't even know who we are. They don't know what we do. So creating an awareness for the general public that we are here, what we do is safe. It's supported by so much evidence in the literature. Um,
Absolutely.
it just, I'm fortunate to practice in Alberta. It is the highest utilization rate in the country. So we know that Albertans get it. It's 27% utilization or 26%, but it could be better than that. So, we obviously have more work to do, but that's what I would tell the public.
That's great. That's great advice. Well, Lindsay, on behalf of FIX and the World Olympic Scholarship Program, I just want to thank you for being here today, but even more importantly, thank you for being just an awesome ambassador for the Olympic movement as well as chiropractic.
Well, thanks very much, Jay. I feel grateful every single day that I was able to take part in the scholarship.
Well, we'll see you soon. And when you see Greg Uchaz, give him a big hug for me.
Will do. Thanks, Jay.
Bye now.
Bye.